Hi, I'm gonna show you the Paiute Deadfall trap. This is a trap that we teach at our camps in the summertime. It was used largely by the Paiute Indians of Western North America, and it was probably invented tens of thousands of years ago. So it's what you call primitive technology, and a lot of primitive technologies are really difficult to learn, like making knives out of stones or tanning hides or basketry. A lot of them take a lot of practice and mastery. One of the nice things about traps, most primitive traps, is that they're reasonably easy to learn, and so they can actually be used in a survival situation. And we like teaching them to the kids because they also require kids to learn how to be resourceful, because it's a device that can be made entirely from the materials they find in the environment. So it teaches them some resourcefulness and creativity, and then it also teaches them like the physics of the natural world. So they get to play around with a relatively complex object and understand how levers and weights work, and then also how to manage those things so that they don't hurt themselves, but they make a trap that can actually be effective. So Paiute Deadfall trap has 5 different pieces to it, and the way that it works is by kind of how it sounds. So it's a deadfall. So this heavy piece of wood, in this case, it could be stone, falls on the animal and kills it. So it is actually not only a primitive technology, but it's a pretty primitive method for killing something. Now, if I was going to actually make a trap that I was trying to catch something with, I wouldn't be doing it on top of a picnic table, and I would be setting some camouflage up around it. So I'd be trying to create a space where an animal would feel safe from, say, birds of prey. Like, say, if it was a rabbit, I'd want to build it somewhere where it would feel like it wasn't going to, as it was eating the bait that I had for it, it wasn't going to be being watched by red-tailed hawks, so to speak. But for demonstration purposes, we're going to do it up here on the table. It can be hard to really see what's going on when there's grass and rocks kind of surrounding the trap. So this is mostly a demo just to show kind of the physics of how this trap works. So the 5 different pieces are the deadfall itself, and then there's 2 support pieces that act together to hold the trap up. This is called the vertical support. This is the lateral support. The lateral support at the end has a string tied to it and a toggle. We call it a toggle. It's a small stick. And the lateral support and the vertical support hold the trap up. And then the toggle tied to, let's switch this around. The toggle, which is tied to the end of the lateral support, wraps around via the string the vertical support. And as long as I hold the toggle in place, I can let go of this lateral support and it'll hold the whole thing up because the string is attached to the lateral support. So we'll do that one more time. So traps, setting up traps, as you can probably see as I'm doing this, can be a little tricky to do by yourself. And so typically when we're teaching traps to the kids, well, most things that we teach to the kids, we have them do them in teams. And traps are one of those things. One person can kind of keep the traps secure while the other person's setting it. This last piece is called the trigger stick. The trigger stick would be baited in a typical situation where we're trying to actually catch an animal. We'd put bait on the end of the trigger stitch wherever it's going to contact the deadfall. And that way the animal comes in to get the bait, and as it's chewing on the bait, it's also disturbing the trigger stick, which hopefully sets the trap off. And the trigger stick holds the whole thing up. So right now my fingers are holding the toggle, which is holding the lateral support, which is holding the deadfall up. Once I replace my fingers with the trigger stick, finding a good secure place on the deadfall to put the trigger stick. That can be kind of the tricky part sometimes. Once I do that, it's set. And now the trap is set, it's also dangerous. And this is where the kids get to learn a lot about safety and safety management, risk management, and judgment. Once in a while, they'll be, as kids are thoughtless about things, and the trap will fall and They'll get a little bit of a owie on their fingers, and they get to learn from that, that, oh, this is the time. When do I need to start paying attention? When does this start getting real? And so it's great for watching them go through that process, and then also figuring out the whole physics. I've done this hundreds of times, so for me it's gotten easy. But actually setting one of these up takes a fair bit of coordination and judgment, and then if you're doing it with someone else, it requires cooperation and communication. If you wanted to make this trap more deadly, you could take extra weight and lay it down on top of the trap, make the deadfall heavier. That can be tricky because it can set the trap off, but that's something you can do if you're careful. And the way the trap works is animal comes in to take the bait, starts nibbling on the bait, and disturbs the trigger stick, and it drops. And ideally, trigger stick's in the middle of the deadfall, so it reduces the amount of space and time the animal has to escape if it notices that it set something dangerous off. And that's how the Paiute Deadfall works. Thanks.